Hello and welcome to the Lakeshow podcast, our weekly deep dive into the biggest stories and news surrounding the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm Allie Clifton, joined by my Spectrum SportsNet co-host, Chris McGee, and our Laker insider, Mike Bresnahan. And biggest stories and topics, that's exactly where we go to now. In case you missed it, the most recent Laker news tweeted out by Shams. The Buss family is entering an agreement to sell majority ownership of the Los Angeles Lakers to Mark Walter, CEO and chairman of diversified holding company TWG Global. This is a big day, big news surrounding it all. So obviously I want to start with both. First, your reaction, Brez. I'll start with you.
Yeah, usually we kind of sit around and talk about our weekend or what's coming up for us. Not today. I mean, we're going right into the news, aren't we? This is shocking to me. All right. The Buss family has owned the Lakers. Jerry Buss, in particular, he purchased it in 1979. He bought the Lakers, the Kings, the Forum, and Guido, I know you're fond of this part of the equation, a giant ranch in the Kern River Valley, all for about $67.5 million. And now here we are 46 years later, and the Lakers are no longer going to be majority owners. Excuse me, the Buss family is no longer going to be majority owner of the Lakers. I was shocked. I was stunned. This is a big deal, obviously. And the fact that the franchise valuation was $10 billion, I mean, that blows just about any other American sports property out of the water. And keep in mind, the Lakers don't even own their own arena. That's an AEG property, Crypto.com/Staples Center. So what you have a deep-pocketed owner. You know, Mark Walter has completely turned the Dodgers around in his 10-plus years of owning that team. The culture, the winning atmosphere, the willingness to spend bucks no matter what. And, you know, obviously the curbs are a little harder. They're a little different in the NBA. It's a little more difficult to spend money than in baseball. Baseball, you can do whatever you want, pretty much. I know I'm over-exaggerating a little bit, but, you know, you don't want to get too far over that second apron that we talk about quite a lot. So it's not going to be a giant frenzy of free agency money this offseason. But the Lakers definitely have a guy who wants to presumably keep this franchise going in the direction it has for decade after decade after decade.
And, you know, Brez and Allie, whenever a franchise gets sold here in the United States professional leagues, I believe everyone always talks about, what do you think the Lakers would go for?
Right.
You know, and the fact that they don't own Crypto.com Arena.
It's unbelievable.
$10 billion. Really incredible. Brez, you I don't need to add anything. You said it perfectly. I was as surprised as you were. I walked out of the store. I had a bunch of texts and calls. I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
I saw the same reports as you. I think stunned, shocked, like, wow, this is real. And listen, Mark Walter was already a minority stakeholder in the Laker organization.
About 27%.
27% now becomes majority. And listen, I mean, I'm happy for the Buss family if this is what they wanted, obviously. And, you know, they deserve this moment. I'm happy it stays with Dodgers, who we all love, and they seem to, you know, Dodgers, Lakers are always kind of one family. So that's kind of a cool part of it. It's not somebody that we've never heard of or coming out of town to come in here to run things. Jeannie still stays on as governor, as being reported. We haven't gotten all the details, so it's hard to know exactly what the changes will be. But listen, big day for LA for sure.
I do want to start with, if you could give us a little bit more perspective when you mentioned, I think that though there is a lot of excitement, and rightfully so, just having the understanding about baseball and basketball when it comes to the cap, when it comes to spending, how that is different.
I went on Ron Say's podcast a couple weeks ago. I know, kind of a blast from the past, right? And
wait, did he call you to have you come on?
One of his producers.
That's great.
Knew. Yeah, so it was great. I've actually been on it twice in the last 6 months or so. And I started just ripping on baseball. It kind of tried to get a reaction out of Ron, too. I said, in baseball, you can trade a guy making $70 million for a guy making $700,000. And, you know, I don't think that can happen, but it's a lot easier to make these really one-sided deals in baseball than it is in basketball. In basketball, I already talked about some of the curbs that they have to try to really prevent a deep-pocketed owner from just spending $1 billion or whatever Mark spends on the Dodger payroll each year going forward. Because obviously what he has done as far as infusing cash into that franchise and going after guys like Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and Mookie and all those guys, it's not as easy to do that in the NBA, especially with the new CBA.
It's just different.
It's just different.
I mean, listen, the Dodgers have been masterful Brez right. I mean, their farm system is unique and it's the best, and the Dodgers are always able to do unbelievable deals and still are able to keep the guys they want to keep. It's really incredible what they've been able to do. You mentioned Ohtani, but it is different in basketball. I've already had to explain to people for the last couple hours, like there's a thing called a cap, there's aprons. You can't just go get players, whoever you want. This is not how it kind of works. But one thing is 100% certain. The way they run the business is truly incredible. And it's the best in all of Major League Baseball, and you can't argue that.
Yeah, I mean, the Lakers still have one major free agency tool at their disposal. It's still going to be a little under $6 million. It's not like all this money just opens up for them. But they can, and they have to be careful about, again, these aprons. The first apron, the second apron. I'm not going to bore everybody with the details of it, but you don't want to go over the second one because then you're really stuck in what you can and cannot do transactionally. But it's just, and this is not anything negative about the Buss family. As Jerry Buss once said, I will spend money when I have to. This is the man who brought Shaq to town as a free agent. This is the guy who traded for Pau Gasol back in 2008. He was always willing to spend that extra money if it meant landing the right player, who was usually a superstar. And it goes way beyond Shaq, too. Again, the Buss family purchased this franchise in 1979, Allie. They've had an amazing run. And as you said, Jeannie will still be staying on board.
And Jeannie and the Buss family have followed in their father's footsteps. You get LeBron James. You then get Anthony Davis. And then you pull off one of the great trades in the history of the NBA and get Luka Doncic. So the Buss family, through all these years, has always done one thing, and that is deliver here.
Still the winningest franchise with 11 championships.
Crazy.
From 79.
Yeah.
And when you speak of you think of the evolution, too. You said it, I think, off the top. You mentioned it as well. The original number of $67.5 million, 46 years later, $10 billion.
Is that a pretty good ROI?
Yeah, how's that?
Put it in, come on, put it on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Also, the success of Mark Walters since taking over the Dodgers in 2013. How about this?
This is crazy.
Obviously, you mentioned Ohtani, Freddie, Mookie. Resumes speak for itself. Postseason appearances every year, 12 of 12.
You know how hard that is in baseball?
That's unbelievable.
2 titles in 4 trips to the World Series.
Yeah.
Not to mention
NL West titles.
11 of 12 NL West titles.
Yeah. That's the one that always baffles me because the NL West is so deep with Giants and Diamondbacks, Padres.
So there is a lot to be excited about. But to your point, those details of the apron and all the money when it comes to the NBA, you may get bored with it, but they matter, and they're there.
You know what really matters? It really matters when you want to re-sign your own free agents. Look at the Golden State Warriors owners. Those guys spend money like crazy. They kept re-signing Steph and Draymond. Obviously, they finally let Clay leave a year ago. But it's important when you finally get a team you like. That's when you start. You can always re-sign your guys for a lot of money, and that's when a deep-pocketed owner tends to come in handy.
You know what's interesting, Brez? We all talk about what Brad Stevens has done over there with Boston and building that team. Obviously, Danny Ainge was a part of that too. They've done it through the draft, but also Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, getting Derek White in that trade. They've done a really good job. Even they, after winning it a year ago, falling short this year in the Eastern Conference semis, even they got to make changes. Everyone's talking about their roster. They have to stay under the second, and they got to, it's like it's hard to keep teams together in this day and age in the NBA. That's what's so unique about OKC. They are young. They're on the brink of winning a championship, and they can let guys go because they got a guy coming over from Europe who just had a redshirt year, basically. They got 10 draft picks they could trade. That's really hard to do. They're in a very unique position.
Yes. In OKC in particular, Allie, Phil Jackson once said to me, he said, what's the goal of any major pro sports franchise? I'm like, is this a trick question? To win a championship? He's like, you're half right. Win a championship with as small of a payroll as possible. So that's the other half of the equation. Now, the Lakers are already one of the biggest spenders in the NBA, but it just helps when you have someone with Mark's financial freedom, let's call it that, coming in here and saying, all right, what can we do? Let's go.
How about this? The Lakers not the only team, obviously, in the last year to sell. Mark Cuban sold a majority stake in the Mavericks for $3.5 billion. Then the Celtics were sold for $6.1 billion.
Yeah.
It was reported, as we have been talking about, the Lakers franchise will sell for approximately $10 billion, which sets a new record for the highest sale of a professional sports team in North America.
That's 3 major players in the NBA in the past year. Boston, Dallas, and LA.
That's crazy.
And I just looked too at the list over just the last 5 years. When you talk about professional sports in North America, the Commanders, the Broncos, that's ahead of them, the Mets, the Suns, the Mercury.
Yeah, even was Memphis in the last?
Those were in the last 5.
Yeah.
We're right around there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
There is some thoughts being poured in, obviously, on social media, but I want to begin with Irvin Magic Johnson in his tweet saying here, just like I thought when the Celtics sold for $6 billion, I knew the Lakers were worth $10 billion.
That's right, Madge. Without owning the building.
Yeah, the Celtics own their building, right? So that adds another several hundred million.
He's still competing. You got to love
Right.
Irvin Magic Johnson still just going, you know what? We're just a little better than you, aren't we?
I also
$4 billion better. How about that?
How about that?
I can't wait to hear from Big Game and his thoughts as well. I did just see a most recent one just a few minutes ago from Magic saying, I just talked to my sister Jeannie Buss to tell her congratulations and that I'm so happy for her and the family. I told her that her dad, Dr. Buss, would be very proud of her for getting $10 billion for the Lakers, the largest sports franchise sale in history. We'll have more certainly on Magic Johnson and his thoughts after this. But Lakeshow fans, remember, you can be a part of this show each week. Feel free to send us your questions and comments. We'd love to hear from you. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back with more on the big sell of the Lakers franchise team. Welcome back to the Lakeshow podcast. If you're enjoying the show, you can check out more original podcasts from our Spectrum News journalists on the Spectrum News app. Just head to the podcast section to listen to the latest episodes. You can download the Spectrum News app on the App Store or Google Play. More on the big news surrounding the Los Angeles Lakers selling the team. This one coming from Irvin Magic Johnson. Laker fans should be ecstatic. A few things I can tell you about Mark. He is driven by winning excellence and doing everything the right way, and he will put in the resources needed to win. I can understand why Jeannie sold the team to Mark Walter because they are just alike. They're competitive people, have big hearts, love to give back, and both prefer to be behind the scenes. This makes all the sense in the world. I am so happy and excited for the Laker fans all over the world. Magic also praising Jeannie for striking an incredible deal and picking the right person to carry on the Lakers' legacy and tradition of winning. The proof is in the pudding on what he's been able to accomplish with the LA Dodgers. Of course, as we mentioned at the top of the show, 2 World Series and 11 NL West divisional titles in the last 12 years. I also, guys, want to dive into some more tweets, if you will. This one coming from Ramona Shelburne. Saying it's important to note Jeannie Buss will not only remain the Lakers governor, but will continue to run the team for at least, in quote, a number of years, according to sources with knowledge of the deal. In other words, it was guaranteed as part of the agreement that Jeannie Buss would remain in charge for the foreseeable future, and Mark Walter fully endorsed this plan, according to sources. So just kind of diving into that context, as well as you got to get to the team right now. Luka Doncic, LeBron James, how does this affect starting with the two of them?
Yeah, it doesn't. You know, and LeBron obviously had a very good friendship with Jeannie Buss and the Buss family. So there's probably some bittersweetness, I think, for all of us, not just LeBron, but, you know, I've worked either covered the Buss family, which I did at the LA Times for 12 years, or worked for the broadcast partner here for 9 years. So for 21 years, I've known the Buss family pretty closely. And, you know, this is really interesting, and I agree with Magic a lot. First of all, because the Lakers sold a little more than 1/4 of their franchise to Mark Walter in 2021. It was Anschutz's shares, and they were eventually sent to Walter. So it's not like they picked some guy out of nowhere. He's already been a minority owner of the Lakers for 4 years. And as for how's this change things immediately, it doesn't. LeBron still has a $54 million, $55 million player option awaiting him at the end of the month, same number. The Lakers can still offer Luka Doncic the same 4-year, $229 million extension on August 2nd. $53 million for LeBron, sorry, rounding up a little bit there. It doesn't change any numbers. It's just a different transition. It does help if the Lakers have their own free agent, which I mentioned earlier. Then, you know, you can go a little deeper in your pockets if you want and say, all right, I'm going to re-sign this guy, just like the Warriors ownership did for year after year. And OKC is going to be tasked with this as well as their young players start to get older and older. It helps to have a pretty wealthy owner to keep those guys in the fold. Other than that, nothing changes on the Laker payroll, and the salary structure is what it is for all 30 NBA teams. So it's not going to be a mad free-for-all. They're not going to get the $375 million in player payroll after being at about $188 million this past season, Geet.
We all found out about this at 1:30 p.m., I think. When these kind of things happen, I always need to remind myself, just because we found out right now, who knows how long this has been in the works. These things just don't happen overnight. I'm sure we'll get more of the story as we move forward. But, Brez, as you mentioned, Mark Walter coming in 2021 has been a part of the franchise, has a relationship with the Buss family, knows how things work. And I think, for Laker fans that you had mentioned, bittersweet, knowing that Jeannie is still involved can also be some comfort to whether it's players or fans alike. So until we know really what the changes are or what happens, it's hard to kind of know what impact there will be.
Nonetheless, it's an exciting day.
Yes,
it is.
Exciting day for the franchise. And,
but in terms of the
future.
numbers for the players, that's LeBron signing a certain number, Luka's a certain number. That can't change. Those are league rules. So, those guys are about stability, and this is stability. This is the Dodgers who are run so well. Mark, who's been in the organization now, I'm sure they know him. So it's. Like I said, it's not a random coming in from somewhere that no one knows. And
to that point, too, I think
important.
There is the element because the Buss
outsider.
family has been who they've been for 46 years.
Yep.
Which obviously gives you a lot of memories.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of moments.
Yeah.
Which you guys both have.
Oh, yeah. I think the first time I've ever met
it's all I've known.
Jerry Buss, you realize that this guy was not a yeller and a screamer. He was very low key. And he often got what he wanted. And I took over the Laker beat for the LA Times in 2004. And Kobe was a free agent right after I got the beat. He had just finished his free agency. You don't want to talk about this, I'm sure. He almost joined the Clippers that year. Mm-hmm. And it took an 11th hour appeal by Jerry Buss going to Kobe's house, I believe, and saying, hey, we're going to figure this out. Okay, Shaq might not be here much longer. We want to sign you. And that gave Kobe the not the ammunition, but the appreciation, I think. I think Kobe had a big appreciation for what Jerry Buss was doing. And Kobe ended up signing with the Lakers, ended up playing all 20 years of his career here. So Jerry Buss always had a way of going in and solving problems in a very low-key, understated style. He was not a guy who would flaunt his money and just be a jerk or anything like that. I really liked his style. Then after his death over 10 years ago, Jeannie took over, and, they ended up winning a championship a few years after that in the bubble in 2020. So, again, I used the word bittersweet earlier. I still feel that way because all I've known in my 21 years around this team is the Buss family. And now we have someone new. Geet.
Yeah, growing up a Laker fan and growing up in Southern California, Dr. Buss was like he's an icon, right? And I remember being a reporter for Fox Sports West, and they were the rights holder for the Lakers like we are now. And, it's the summer, and I get sent out to Commerce Casino because Dr. Buss is playing in a poker tournament, and he was going to do an interview with me. That was the first time I ever did one with him. And another time was, he went to the University of Wyoming. Wyoming was playing UCLA in hoops, and they sent me over to interview him during the game, and he couldn't have been nicer both times. But, as a kid growing up here, I'm going to talk to him was a pretty big deal. And, getting to know James, Byron, all these guys who Fish, Rob, all these guys who had close relationships with Dr. Buss, you've always learned a lot about him. And I think the beauty of Dr. Buss was putting people in place where they could thrive. And he was always involved, but knew when to stand back and let the basketball people do it. When he had to come in, like you said, and sign Shaq, he does it. And then he trades Shaq. Mm-hmm. Those are huge moves in the history of the Lakers. Getting Kobe to stay. How about when Kobe wanted to get traded in 2007?
Oh, yeah.
That's Dr. Buss who said, come, let's meet.
6 months
come on
later.
over. Let's talk. Kobe stayed. The rest is history. Our first year as a network, when Dr. Buss passed away, I was on TV that day for 4 hours. And the amount of people that called in with the stories, players, famous people from this town that were Laker fans, Dr. Buss touched a lot of lives. So that legacy went on through his kids, right? So when Brez talks about it being bittersweet, there are those feelings, of course, but there's also this excitement as well because the Dodgers are our team as well. And Mark Walter, and the track record, and what they've done, and the fact that he was a part of this organization already. I just think that that's what's exciting about the future.
I also think very well said by you there, but that's why in moments like this, you can really lean on and listen to what Magic is telling you. Because if there's anyone that understands both sides of it, it's a guy like Magic Johnson.
He's the guy who brought him in.
Yep, exactly.
Drafted him.
And Allie, let's not forget real quick, the 80s. That was Dr. Buss's time to shine. I mean, Magic Johnson ushered in that new era. Dr. Buss owned the team for 1 year, and they're already winning a championship. And you had Kareem there as well. You had the Showtime Lakers. You had the Laker girls, a concept that he invented. You had Senate seats, as he called them at the old Forum Gate, the precursor to luxury boxes. It was Jerry Buss who said, you know what? I think we're going to try not just rows and rows of seats. We're going to have a little clump of 6 or 8 and in a little glass partition. He basically created luxury boxes too. So, the innovation of the Buss family goes all the way back to the late 70s into the early 80s and all that he was responsible for.
And what's super cool you both brought up is Magic Johnson's relationship with both sides. And you could sense the excitement in his tweets and what he's saying because he knows both of those people really well. It's like family. He calls Jeannie his sister. He knows how they're alike, how they are in business, their competitive nature, to be about winning, giving back to the community is super important. So I just think that, I think this transition, is going to be a good one.
You've got about 5 there, but Magic, you need to pin some of those tweets up there.
They're good.
People need to read them. People need to see them.
Those are good, Magic.
We don't have too much time left before we wrap up this podcast, but we often play a game called Rank 'em here. And we have what is our show with Dan Woike? Lakers List.
Yeah.
Do you guys have a favorite moment or a memory over the last 46 years?
Well, I think for Geeta, it has to be when he shook Jim Buss's hand right in the studio here. And you and James shook his hand at the same time,
Mitch Kupchak,
right?
too. We all collided hands, yeah.
It's like 5 guys shaking hands at once. I would probably say no particular, moment. I mean, what you're talking on the court, like the Shaq lob from Kobe. I thought that epitomized, Laker basketball over the last 46 years. The Magic Junior Skyhook, all these things that the Buss family were a part of. Huge moments on the court. I just always liked talking to Jeannie or Jerry. I'd sit down next to Jeannie at some games because she was always readily available and present right across from the Laker bench. Just talk with her at halftime. Just see how she's doing, see what she thinks of the team. And I think the Buss family was very available, I think, and I appreciate that, especially in today's modern NBA, Chris.
I second that. The Buss family has been nothing but great to all of us. And as you said, Brez, always so available. I've always found that absolutely remarkable, that they have always been about talking to people and all that. But if you want my favorite moment ever, I would have to say, obviously I have my childhood memories, some great moments like the Magic Hook. I remember that vividly. I know exactly what happened in that moment. That would have been number one, but I think 2010 took that one. 2010, working that finals and then getting to be a fan in Game 7, Boston, and still having my media credential and going right into the locker room and having a great time going into a side room with Luke Walton. And it was Derek Fisher and Kobe and Vanessa at the time, and having a drink with Luke. That was a special moment for me because I felt a little more a part of that one because I got to travel with them throughout the whole playoff. So I always hold 2010 as a pretty high moment. And then getting the job here. Yep. That was beyond my wildest dreams. Just didn't exist before. So, the fact that I got to do this job for the last 13 seasons, that definitely takes cake.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
Obviously, we have the handshake that Brez was referring to.
Yeah. What an awkward moment. Actually, Jim stayed out of it there.
It was with Mitch, not Jim.
I thought Mitch was I thought Mitch was going across. Those are the weird white couches we used to have. Mitch was coming across for me, and James was going, no, he's going to shake my hand. And then all three of us were in there. The most awkward handshake, not just in Spectrum's history, but most likely in all of sports television in the history of the world.
This is all of Laker Nation right here.
Yeah.
Coming together.
Yeah.
Jim Buss just chilling. I messed that up. I thought Jim was part of it too, but only 3 of you guys.
Goofy black dress shoes I had on there
on
too.
A day, I often say, there is never a dull
Real
moment.
goof, Brett, when this network started. Come a long way.
There is never a dull moment in Lakerland. In the middle of June, the news drops, obviously tweeted out by Shams, in case you missed it. The Buss family entering an agreement to sell majority ownership of the Los Angeles Lakers to Mark Walter. You two are amazing. What a podcast for this afternoon.
Job, Brez.
That'll do it for all of us. Thanks for
Everyone.
to all of you for listening to the Lakeshow podcast. We'll have much more on the Buss family's move to the sell of the Lakers on Thursday. See you then.